Hello again, book lovers of the internet. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. I am BookNerd802, and in this video, I am going to be reviewing an autobiography, this time by Matthew Perry, called Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing. As you probably remember, especially if you are a big fan of Friends, this fantastic actor died more than a year and a half ago now, towards the end of 2023. Now, the autobiography consists of 250 pages and was published before Chandler Bing died, basically, and I rated it a 4 out of 5 stars, so yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think that we've had two Christmas Eve Eves without Chandler so far. And yeah, honestly, I finally got around to finishing the autobiography, and I must admit that I found it to be heartbreaking, despite how difficult it was to relate to, because I honestly can't even begin to imagine myself doing drugs when times get rough, let alone doing so much of them that I would wind up in hospital for months at a time, worrying my loved ones to death, basically. And that was mostly the gist of the autobiography. That was what he mainly spoke about, apart from his relationships with women, with colleagues, with his family. But mostly he spoke about the big terrible thing, which, as I mentioned, was totally heartbreaking. And although I empathize with Perry, I think of him as an irresponsible person who took advantage of his wealth and cared little about those who were willing to do anything for him, those who loved him, those who would go to great lengths to see him happy and healthy again. But then again, mental health is nothing to joke about, nothing to take lightly. So, yeah, I appreciated how he spoke about his experience and was so transparent about it all. And it came across as a very courageous, as a very brave thing to do. And I think that this is a brilliant way of raising awareness as to how alcoholism and drugs can ruin someone's life, even someone as successful as Matthew Perry, and of course, how becoming an alcoholic or a user of drugs can also be a consequence of mental health. And it is very, very important to speak up about mental health issues. And this book did so in a fantastic way. So, despite his many roles during the course of his career, I don't think I'll ever really be able to consider him as anyone but Chandler Bing. And it's a shame that his self esteem was so bruised, despite how many opportunities he had during his life to act, to portray several characters, to be a funny guy. He also portrayed a teacher in a movie which I really enjoyed. The Ron Clark story, as far as I know, I'll have to look it up very quickly. Yeah, precisely the Ron Clark story, which I found to be extremely interesting, considering that I want to become a teacher myself one of these days. And yeah, I mean, in terms of sense of humor, I think he's a pretty funny guy, and it comes across in his writing as well, although not as frequently as I expected it would. So we have quite a similar sense of humor as far as sarcasm is concerned. If you get to know me better, you would know how much of a sarcastic person I can be. I like to keep people on edge, to give responses which they aren't expecting, to keep conversations interesting and flowing, and to give them some time to think about what I am saying rather than the usual generic stuff that other people tend to say just to keep a conversation going. I like to keep people on edge, to help them think before they reply to me, because I expect clever answers when I give clever answers myself, or when I initiate a conversation myself. And I think Matthew Perry has a similar sense of humor and of conversing with others as I do. So, mental health issues, as I mentioned, are certainly no joke, and despite his best efforts, Perry's life still ended way too soon, and I do hope that he rests in peace and that his family does get all the closure they deserve. So, honestly, after having read that autobiography and still finding out that he died of a drug overdose, is pretty horrible, but I hope that he managed to raise enough awareness so that others do not follow the same path as he did. But anyway, that is all I had to say about Matthew Perry's autobiography, a bit of a non fiction book this time round called Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing. Um, a lovely memoir overall. I would recommend. Especially if you're a fan of Friends, honestly. There are some interesting tidbits about the show as well and about how he taught with regard to his colleagues. So yeah, you should definitely check it out. But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, comment, share, subscribe. Take a look at the rest of my content because why not? It's absolutely amazing. And I'll see you in the next one, hopefully very, very soon. Bye, guys.